food. So moving on to the I can see, do you have sweet kuli here? Okay, I can see interactions between people in the chat box. That's welcome. I would be handing over the virtual mic to Yasmin. Yasmin is one of our amazing lab fellows from last year's cohort, and she would be moderating. She would be moderating the panel session, and I can already see some of our speakers are already in the room. So over to you, Yasmin. It's lovely to see you again.
Thank you so much, Adana. It's always a pleasure seeing you and working with African food change makers. At the beginning, I would thanks everyone for waiting with us to start. It's our pleasure having you with us today. As mentioned, the topic is focusing more on green technologies and how it can support sustainable food production and our food security in Africa. However, before starting, I wanted to shed the light why actually we're focusing on this topic and what is the story behind it, why technology, and why we're working on supporting Africa with regards to food security. When I did some research, it was to my surprise that most of the African countries across all the regions are actually still importing some of the crops, some of the like essential crops for them. However, in Africa, now we have like more than 60% of the uncultivated land in the world. And actually, we have like a lot of potential with regards to that. So I asked myself a question: where the gap? Like, is it employment gap? Is it technological gap? Is it skills gap? And how we can work on it? And when you think about it, why technology? Actually, technology is one of the most like sufficient tool when it comes to scalability and sufficient when it also comes to funding as well. So now we're talking about climate smart technology and how it can support Africa. The argument with it is that it's actually very feasible to apply it in our countries. And actually, it's also very sustainable on the long term. So today we will try to give you more insights about the solutions and how it can be addressed and how we can work on it. With me today, I have Nada Al-Assel. She is from Egypt as well. She's working on remote sensing, and I think she can give us more information about it as well. And we also have Nada from Morocco. She is working also on the post-harvest part, and I think this is very critical as well in Africa, where actually most of our food loss happen on the post-production part. At the beginning, I think we can have some examples from Nada and Fatima with regards to that to know more about the solutions that can actually work on the African system and how it can support like the food production and food security in Africa. Nada, can you give us one example with regards to that?
Sure. Hi. Thank you so much, Yasmin, for introducing me. And it's a big pleasure to be with you guys. I'm always very proud to be in any event where I'm joined with my fellow African countries. So my name is Nada. I'm a computer science engineer by profession, and I'm passionate about the agri-tech space. I'm the founder of Lemon Tree Labs, where, as Yasmin said, we work on remote sensing. And this brings me to Yasmin's question, which is, if I were to pick one promising technology that has a huge potential, in my opinion, in the African ecosystem, I would say data-driven agriculture in general, and remote sensing being one such tool. So data-driven agriculture, what I mean by that is essentially where we take agriculture and rather than practicing agriculture as we know from research and from practice, traditional practices, we look at what the data that's collected from the field tells us and learn from that and adapt to the results. So if you think about if you think about the agricultural ecosystem, there's a lot of things that we want to optimize. We want to optimize productivity, yield, minimize spending, minimize environmental impact, use the natural resources in the best way. It's a lot of things that we want to do. And we typically don't know the answer to the best way we deal with all of this. So the way we go about this is rather than waiting for these research to happen, we actually apply data analysis to to solve that equation. Let me first pause here. Yasmin, are we moving on with this, or do we want to do introduction
Yes.
first and then? Okay.
We can get back. We can go to Fatima and then we can go back. Also, adding on what you mentioned, Nada, I really want to emphasize on this area because now in Egypt, actually, we're trying more to have more technologies with regards to that is data driven. And I think you cannot fix an issue without knowing what is the issue is.
Yeah.
So for us, we need to focus on the core challenges we're facing. Then from that, we can have more tailored solutions that can actually work on it. Moving to Morocco, Fatima, if you can please also give us, in your opinion, one solution that you think is very promising and that can benefit our colleagues from different countries as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Yasmin. So, hi everyone. My name is Fatima Alfou, founder and CEO of Jackie Startup. We are a platform to transform food with technology, is digital drying solar technology. So I'm delighted to be part of this webinar on green food production technology. So solar energy is emerging as a key technology for enhancing food production. Its application spans the entire food supply chain, from powering water pumps and crop monitoring systems on farms to driving processing and drying operation in factories. So a particularly impactful application is solar drying, which facilitates the creation of value-added food products and promotes sustainability. This technology has the potential to boost farm productivity by more than 45%, while simultaneously reducing carbon footprint by over 1 ton per small farmer. Importantly, integrating solar energy into food production can lead to energy saving of 25 to 65%. So this is about solar energy and specifically with our technology or solar drying technology.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Fatima.
You're welcome.
And actually, it sounds like it's very promising to actually scale that. And I always actually advocate for the solutions like this because in Africa we tend to export our products as a raw materials, and actually in other countries they take our products and then they work on it on post harvest. Yes, and then they resell it with I would say 10 times the pricing. So we need to advocate for that. We need to have post-harvest activity in Africa. We need to focus on cultivating and exporting our products, not only exporting raw materials. So thank you so much, Fatima, for working on solutions like this.
You're welcome.
Getting back to you, Nada. Actually, for me, I always want to hear from you about Lemon Tree. For me, it's very interesting and very exciting what you're trying to do. Actually, to be sad, Nada is one of the few people actually working this in Egypt, and I would say also in the MENA region and Africa. So Nada, can you please tell us more about precision agriculture, the idea behind Lemon Tree, and what you're trying to do?
Sure. So, all right. So let's start from just the definition of what is precision agriculture. I already mentioned about data-driven agriculture, which is essentially using data to know how to plant and give the plants what they actually need to get the best results. Now, the question becomes then, how do we get this data? How do we know what the plants need? And then the other part is, how do we analyze this data to come up with useful insights? So the first question is data collection, about data collection. So to know what the plants need, what the yield, what would maximize yield or what would minimize environmental impact, we need to measure and monitor. And we do this using different tools, right? We can start with survey questions, we can do logs, but we can also use technology. And here comes in sensors, drones. These are the typical ones that we know of. But those might have some difficulties. For example, installing sensors in your land is not as simple, might not be economically feasible. It also needs a lot of maintenance and a lot of attention, essentially. But luckily, we have a different alternative, which is satellites. So satellites are, they're essentially big cameras that are moving in space every day, collecting a lot of images of each part of the Earth. And what we do in remote sensing is we take images from satellites, high-resolution images. We look at agricultural land, and we analyze this image to know how plants are doing. So we look at the season, a complete season of images of the complete season of a crop, and we analyze how the plant is doing. Is it growing well? Does it show any signs of nutrient deficiency or diseases or any type of problems that we can predict and act upon? So this is data collection. We use satellite for as our main source of data. That's the data collection part. Now the analysis part is where AI comes in. So AI is the very important friend of remote sensing, because this is how you actually make use of this huge amount of data for all crops that you analyze, for all plots of land. So we apply some really advanced machine learning models and AI that would take all these images and learn from what it's doing and how it relates to the yield at the end. And from this large analysis that is done at scale, we're able to infer insights that we might not know about. Well, sometimes farmers say, okay, we know what needs to be done. Problem is, there's a lot of changes that happened recently. There's the changes in the soil and how it actually has been dealt with over the years. It's not responding in the same way anymore. Climate has been changing. Different crops are now coming in the market and need to be planted, and all of these changes need something to be updated. And we do that automatically using remote sensing and AI, and come up with these insights that we provide to farmers directly in the simplest format that they can receive. This can be through SMS messages, through WhatsApp messages, and even through reports that can be sent to them every week or two to give them, the actual state of their land and what we detect needs to be done to get the best yield and productivity at the end of the season.
It's always so interesting listening to you, Nada, to be honest. And I think what you're doing is actually really fascinating, putting in consideration you're making technology affordable for everyone. Like with on-ground sensors and other detecting usual methodologies, it's hard for people like the smallholder farmers to actually afford it. But with remote sensing, it's like an amazing application that is very affordable for everyone to use. So I think you're not only like using technology in agriculture, you're actually changing the narrative as well. You're changing how people are like seeing technology and the impact of it. So thank you so much, Nada, and it's always a pleasure listening and hearing from you.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Moving to you, Fatma. So I would say it. Or can you hear me, Fatma?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we would love to listen more from you on vertical farming and like other different forms of farming, like urban farming. And like we need to more, like we want to know more about what you're doing and what your suggestions with regard to that.
So, Yasmin, the challenge is clear. So we need to increase food production to meet the demand of a burgeoning global population, while simultaneously minimizing our environment footprint. So traditional agriculture, where essential, faces limitation related to land use, water consumption, and transportation. So this is where urban agriculture, particularly vertical farming, offers a compelling solution. So why? Vertical farms, by their very nature, maximize space. So imagine multi-level structures, often indoor, where crops thrive in carefully controlled environments. This allows for significantly higher yield per square foot compared to traditional farming. We're talking about potentially several times the output for the same land area. So the benefit extends beyond just increased production. Urban agriculture, bring food production. So bring food production closer to consumers, drastically reducing food miles. This translates to less spoilage during transport, lower transportation costs, and a significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Furthermore, controlled environments in vertical farms often require significantly less water and pesticides compared to conventional agriculture. This minimizes water waste and reduces the risk of environment contamination. Other forms of urban agriculture, such as rooftop gardens, community farms, and hydroponic systems, also contribute to this positive trend. They can revitalize underutilized urban spaces, create green jobs, and foster a stronger connection between urban dwellers and their food sources. So now, scaling up this technology is crucial. We need continued investment in research and development to optimize growing conditions, reduce energy consumption, and make these systems more economically viable. Government support through incentives and policies will also play a vital role. Finally, education the public about the benefits of urban agriculture and encouraging consumer demand for locally grown produce will be essential for widespread adoption. So, in conclusion, Yasmin, vertical farming and other forms of urban agriculture are not just futuristic concepts, they are practical solutions for creating a more sustainable and resilient food system. So, this is a very good option.
Thank you so much, Fatma, for explaining it perfectly for us and everyone to understand it more. Thank you so much for that. We were also supposed to have Anas with us, but he has another engagement. So I think now we can move to the next segment of the panel. But before we move, I wanted also to shed the light on some of the key green initiatives that's happening in the region. I can share one from Egypt that I think we're very proud of having it. So now, in Egypt, we have bachelor degree for agricultural students, and now they're trying to integrate more extracurricula with regards to entrepreneurship. So it's always very nice to have more capacity building for the students with agricultural students, even if it's non-formal education, because usually initiatives like that are driven by the students themselves trying to join extra activities. So it's very nice having this informal and non-formal education. So also, Nada, if you want to share an initiative you think is key and remarkable with regards to agriculture development.
I think one that I've been monitoring closely is carbon credits. I think it's coming up really well, and it's taking it's really getting widespread in Egypt lately, and we're both. And I think with that we're seeing the challenges as well on how we can actually get a very solid carbon measuring system. Remote sensing, we're trying to help with that, but I think generally the move to actually make environmental impact really beneficial for farmers in a material way is a really great move that's happening now in Egypt. I really like that one.
Yes, I totally second you on that. And I think as a continent, usually our contribution to the carbon emissions is very low. So actually we need to focus more on our carbon credit, and we need to focus more on having finance with regard to that, because it's a key finance factor that we can utilize in our agricultural development as well. So thank you so much, Nada, for shedding the light on that. Moving to you, Fatima, if there is any key initiative with regards to agricultural development from Morocco you want to share, or a success story you have seen.
Yeah, so we have some initiatives from universities for young people to research in cooperation with farmers and food industry companies like UNCP, and there are also others initiatives with the students. So to have more and to know the impact for to have a sustainable agriculture and the sustainable food in the country.
Yes, sounds great. Yes, I think also like education is always a key. And with Africa having 70% of population under 30, so it's like critical for us to focus on the new generations and how they can change the narrative. And I think we're like a little bit privileged compared to everyone in the world having like the most population as yours. So we need to use that. Like this is my key remark. I always say we need to use our land, we need to use our resources, and YOS is a key resource that we need to focus on and build their capacity as well. By that, I couldn't like pick a better remark to end the panel with. So I think by that we can conclude and move to the questions. If anyone have a question, he can share it on the chat box. I think, Adana, we explained everything perfectly, so no one have a questions maybe.
I actually I can add a question here to Fatima, if that's okay, until someone
Sure, yes, sure.
yeah.
Please
So
go ahead.
so Fatima, I was actually very passionate about the vertical farming. You know, a few years ago, I read a lot about it, and I think one thing that I learned was, as you mentioned, it's such a practical and like amazing solution for a lot of problems. But I think one piece that I found was missing a little bit, especially when you compare it to Egyptian economy and how economical and viable you know, a vertical farming solution was essentially the economics of it. I think if vertical, like so essentially I wanted to ask you if you've seen it being applied in Morocco, and there's also different ways to apply different ways to create the facility itself and do the vertical farming itself, which I'm curious, you know, what method and what shape proved to be economically viable in the Moroccan market, and what not, essentially. I wanted to hear more about that.
Fatima, can you hear us? I think Fatima might have had a connection challenge.
Yeah, that's okay.
So maybe I can put you in touch with her, Nada, as well,
Yes, that
because
would be
Fatima
great.
is a
Thank you.
very active with regards to that. I want also, before we finish, I want also to share with everyone my experience as a fellow with African Food Change Maker as well. I think I want to use this moment actually to share my experience and advocate for the program. So usually they have a cohort every year from April to September. Mine was last year. And it was a very nice experience actually in terms of networking and understanding more about the different context of agriculture sector. And actually on the personal level as well, it was a very nice experience to meet colleagues from different African countries and to learn and understand what they're doing. For me, the key element I took from this experience was like women can do like whatever like we want to do, we can do if we have the adequate support and resource. And thank you African Food Change Makers actually for providing that to like different countries in the region. Thank you so much for the team. Over to you, Adana.
For being an amazing panel moderator. That was quite an insightful session. And thank you to our panelists Nada and Fatima. I'm very certain our participants learned a lot from you because I had a lot of key takeaways from your sessions, and we'll be championing your cause. I can see that we have women, and we have like our panel today is an all-women panel, so it has been quite interesting. And we look forward to seeing you doing amazing things in the different spheres you are in the sector. And then thank you so much, Yasmin, for the kind words. That's what AFC is out to do, impact, and we are happy and excited to see that the Black program has been beneficial to you. So thank you so much again to everyone who has been on the call, on the meeting. We'll also be moving on to. Okay, so before we go on, I just going to throw a question about two questions, and I think I'll just open the question, and Nada or Fatima, you could answer. The first question is, how can we foster collaboration and knowledge sharing between different stakeholders, including farmers, researchers, and entrepreneurs in the northern region? So,
I think I can answer that, Adana. Mainly, I think having mutual benefit. Having a mutual benefit for everyone can actually ensure having a sustainable collaboration. And what I really like about digital technologies is that actually it like scale and facilitate the networking and connection. So for me, I would say a key point is having a mutual benefit for everyone on the value chain and ensuring everyone work is building on each other. So in regards, for example, for research, one of the key challenges in the research that they are not linked to private sector and entrepreneurs. So maybe if we ensure that researchers have like a key benefit or like a sustainable way to connect and collaborate with entrepreneurs and farmers, this actually will ensure like a successful collaboration and a sustainable one as well.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. I think Nada was also trying to attempt to answer the question. Nada, do you have any other advice or suggestions on how we can foster collaborations?
I actually perfectly agree with Yasmin on the mutual benefit as a key point. I might add as well that having events and channels where these different stakeholders talk about their findings and encouraging an open culture of sharing what you have and what you're working on and the problems that you're facing is also important to create them, to find the mutual benefit, because many times each of these stakeholders is working on something and doing something, but they might not know that someone else can benefit them there. So having similar events like this one and encouraging open culture and sharing helps in what Yasmin mentioned.
Thank you so much, Nada. Yes, I totally agree. Also, I think we have Fatima with us as well. So maybe Fatima.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, never mind. So maybe Fatima, you can also give us your insight with regards to the question in research.
Yes, it's about technology in Morocco, I think. So there are many techniques currently used in Morocco and many startups for so including vertical farming. So we have in Morocco the problem is depend on the variety of weather. So like in the north, so there are some techniques like such as like insulation techniques are used. While in the south, you need to reduce that heat more. So it depends in the north or in the south. And there are another techniques
I think the network has kicked out Fatima again because I don't think she's on the call. Hi, Fatima, can you hear me? Okay, so thank you so much for the insights and the additional key takeaways we got from the responses to your questions asked. And we'll be moving on to the next segment of the event. Thank you so much again, Yasmin, Nada, and Fatima for an amazing and insightful session. We are immensely grateful.